Hello, hello, hello! Whoa, my microphone is very far away. What's up, everybody? I'm gonna leave the air conditioning on, so I apologize for any noise. But we are moments away from Raw starting. I don't know why we should actually be started already. I don't know why it's not starting. Here we go. 1 second. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We are live streaming tonight, folks, for Raw live stream. It has been. Oh, hey. Hey now. Let me see. Welcome back. I'm Joshua Hale Fialkov. I am a writer and producer of television, animation, and video games. And it is a pleasure to have you with me here tonight. Let's see. We are on Twitch. We are on live on YouTube, it looks like. And we are live on Twitter tonight. I'm going to look over here and make sure we're live, everybody. We are. CM Punk, everybody. Look at him with that awesome The Thing t-shirt. I used to have that Thing t-shirt. It is, so we're getting a #1 contenders match. That's exciting. Let's see. Rhea Ripley. We're going to have a good night. I think it's going to be a good show tonight, guys. I did not do, I live streamed. What do we got? Gunther. Oh, I love Gunther so much. Chime in for me. Let me know you're here. If you are hanging out tonight, I have one set left. They're piled on top. I got a ton of stuff piled on top of it because I got a pile of crap here because I was shooting all night. All day, rather. I have got a pile right here of Batman Brave and the Bold comics. This is my last set that I have to give away. But we are giving them away right here, right now. If you are hanging out with me, let me know you're here so I know that there's people hanging out. And if you make it through the whole 3 long hours of Raw with me tonight, I will have one copy that I'm giving away. One set of my Batman Brave and the Bold, which is in stores later this week, just for you to have. Apparently, oh, we're going to be on the Sci-Fi Channel next week. That's exciting. I wonder what that does for ratings. And I wonder if everybody who bitches about the AEW ratings are going to complain about the Raw ratings. Although, you notice that nobody ever seems to do that. It's interesting. Welcome. We got somebody watching over on YouTube. And it looks like we got somebody over on Twitch, maybe? We got somebody over on Twitch, maybe? Can't tell. Let me see. Get you moved over here. Yeah, we got a couple people watching. Welcome, guys. And let's see who's going on. Oh, we're missing a Kamala Harris speech right now. It's very complicated for me. Let me see. Oh, we got like 40 people chiming in. We got 43 live people watching over on Twitter. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming. Welcome, welcome, welcome to everybody. What is Gunther going to say? Why are people booing Gunther? He is amazing. I disagree. I disagree with everybody booing Gunther. There's no good reason to boo Gunther. Ever. Ever, ever, ever. He does not suck, guys. He does not suck. Outstanding. He is a delight. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's true. I mean, Gunther is a heat magnet. The guy just pulls heat everywhere he goes. And he gets his feet stuck in ropes, and he forgets to kick out. A lot of problems with Damian Priest these days. Oof. He's not wrong. He is definitely not wrong, guys. Who knew that the thing that would help get Damian Priest over was having him go against Gunther? I'm on a thread with a bunch of other wrestling blogger types, and they were all complaining about Gunther, and I am baffled by it. Oh damn! Oh, here we go. They have figured out what to do with Damian Priest, man. They have figured it out. Let him go to town. This is nice. This has got to be the best reaction that Damian Priest has gotten this entire time he's been champion. Like the absolute best reaction he's gotten the entire time. Bar none. And commercial break. Yeah, but you know, one of the problems with Damian Priest that he's had is just he just because he's like a tweener and because they haven't been able to decide what they want to do with him, like they just haven't been able to push him where he needs to go, and like it turns out just letting him be a goddamn baby face is the way to go. Making him a tweener is not working, and like put him against an actual real legitimate heel goes a long way to doing the right thing, I think. Maybe that's just me. What do you guys think? It was a very, very fast commercial that we got to. Ah, what? There we go. Yeah, let them keep going. Ah, I don't think that was supposed to happen. Poor Adam Pierce. They should have given him a nice Hulk out. They missed out on an opportunity there. That was good. God, I feel like we have seen Dragonov and Braun Breaker a lot over the past few weeks. I just wonder what you do. Like, I guess you can have this be a disqualification, and then they both go, and you get a triple threat. I suppose that's probably what you do, because how many times can you have Dragonov get beat by Breaker before you're just doing the same thing over and over, and you're hurting Dragonov at that point? But you also don't want to have Breaker lose because you don't want Breaker getting hurt in this thing. You know, like you're just sort of like it's a little bit of diminishing returns at some point. And like the one guy who doesn't need it is Sammy. You know, like I just think like you don't want. Maybe it's me, right? Like maybe it's just me reading into it all. But for my money, we've seen so much of what you got to do when you're building up young guys is you got to protect them. And like, yes, they have to win. Someone has to win, and someone has to lose. But like, with these two guys in particular, like, I don't know what you're accomplishing after a point. Like, they have fought each other so many times. I mean, I suppose like it's good for Dragonov, right? Because we're like getting Dragonov over. You know, like I mean, having him go toe to toe with them, I think is probably like a good thing. But ultimately, like realistically, like don't you just want him to win? Like I want somebody to win between the two of them, and you sort of can't have either of them win because you're trying to build both of them up. And if you're busy trying to build both of them up, neither one can really get away with it. I mean, you can trade wins, I suppose. But I don't feel like we're getting much out of either side. I don't feel like we're getting a lot of benefit out of having the two of them together. You know, I wish there was another configuration here we could be doing. Oof, that's gross. Yeesh, yeah, yeah, yeah. And commercial. Going to commercial. But yeah, I just don't think you're getting. I don't think you're getting your money's worth out of either guy at this point because you're just sort of doing the same fight over and over and over and over and over and over again. You know, like we're not making progress with them, and progress is what you need to be doing. Like we've established. I guess you've established that Braun Breaker is a badass, but at the same time, like you can't stop establishing that he's a badass. You can't like just stop doing it. You got to keep working it. And if you keep working it, but then you're also at the same time trying to balance that out with working Dragonov, I guess, right? So like, what does that do? What are you accomplishing realistically with doing those things? You know, I don't know. I don't know that it's a win for either guy. And I think you need to be banking wins for both of them right now. So I would move Dragonov on to another story. Like I just think you need to move him on. I think you need to put the belt on. Like you need to work towards a rematch at SummerSlam for Braun Breaker and Sammy, and I think you need to put the belt on Braun Breaker. Otherwise, what are we doing? Is that just me? Maybe that's just me. Maybe I'm just making things up. I mean, I am just making things up because what the hell do I know? But that is just how I would do it if I was booking it. Because I think you're not doing anybody any favors by sort of sticking to the same story over and over. And it gets repetitive. You know, like you eventually you're just telling the same story over and over, and you're not making progress with it. And what we're doing here, what we're like really should be trying to do, is to make progress with these characters. Uh, if you're following along at home, we do have some really cool content that went up this week. We just put up. Uh, there's a interview that went up over the weekend with a buddy of mine by the name of FJ DeSanto, who is the writer producer of the Transformers War for Cybertron cartoon over on Netflix, who happens to be a gigantic fan of wrestling, specifically Japanese wrestling. And so we did about an hour where we talked about the history of wrestling. We talked about Japanese wrestling. We did a very comprehensive, very in-depth discussion about everything from the history of wrestling, like I said, to what it's like to produce something like the Transformers, and to what those things have in common. Especially what I thought was really interesting that we talked about. Probably the most interesting part for me was talking about dealing with a franchise like the Transformers, and how there's a degree of homogenization that you're always sort of stuck dealing with, but how within that homogenization you have to find ways to make things creative and original. And I think that's really interesting for how wrestling is booked, because you're making something with something like the WWE, which is like the big brand, right? Which is the big, most homogenous brand, the one that is trying to appeal to everybody. But at the same time, you have to make it feel original and different. You're constantly trying to reinvent new stars, while also servicing, the fans who are like looking for the classic brand, and the classic feel. Um, so yeah, I thought we had a really very fascinating conversation. Oof. Oh, that was brutal. I mean, they're certainly selling Dragonoff as a legitimate threat, which is nice. Meaner than evil is a weird thing to have on your butt. That's what I think. Oof, close. Close, close, close. Oh, looks like it's the time of the night. Oh. I thought my wife had just got home, guys, but she hasn't. It was the mail lady. Oof. He's got a nice looking Frankensteiner, although he always looks like he's about to fall over right before he does it. How smart indeed, Michael Cole. Oof. Oof. Shit. That was a great sound. It's interesting to me that they sell Braun Breaker as a giant when he is very clearly not a giant. Oof. Like, he is very much a little man. It is a good match. I approve. The thing, what? The faces that he makes. The faces that Dragunov makes are just spectacular. It's a weird ending. Again, like, what does it accomplish? I guess my thing, again, it really does just come back to, like, I don't know what you get for it. Because we already get that Braun Breaker is a monster. Like, I get that Braun Breaker's a monster already. I need more. Oof. Oh. I thought Drew McIntyre was suspended again. What happened to how Drew is suspended? Woo. 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 Wah. Wah. Ah. And we are out to commercial one more time. Ah, yay. So, and as we're away on commercial once again, sorry, I get distracted by the commercials. What else do we got going on? We got Comic-Con coming up this week. I'm going to be down there at least Friday and Saturday. I might go down Thursday. There's a bunch of really cool wrestling content on Thursday. I'm still trying to figure out my schedule and if I can actually make it down or not. But I know on Thursday there's a big AEW panel, and then there's an AEW weird tag team tournament that's happening outside at one of their like activation things. That's like an Adult Swim AEW panel. So I'm gonna see if I can make it down there for that on Thursday, and cover it. I got my little I got my look at this. I got my camera with my little microphone. It's gonna be like whoa, I'm gonna do all that stuff. But hopefully, if I can do that, I can live stream from down there and do all that fun stuff. Get that up there, and put up some videos from down in San Diego. And then I'll be down there doing comic book stuff because that's my actual job that I actually do, even though I tend to do a lot more of this right now than I do my actual job. Because this is more fun and more pleasurable for me. I enjoy it more. So yeah, and then there's all sorts of cool toy stuff, all sorts of cool wrestling toys, and all sorts of cool stuff going on that is like wrestling adjacent down in Comic Con. So I'm excited. I'm excited to do that stuff because I haven't gone. I actually have not been, despite being not that far away from Comic Con. I have actually not gone to Comic Con in like well over a decade. Uh, so I'm excited to go back. It's been forever and a day. It's been a very, very, very long time since I've gone. So yeah, it'll be nice to be there, I think, hopefully. Um, Again, looks like we got a couple more people joining us. Welcome, guys. And if you hang out with us, let me know you are in the room. And I've got copies of my forthcoming Batman Brave and the Bold story, the last issue of which comes out later this week, on Wednesday. And I've got one set left that we're going to give away at the end of the night tonight, at the end of Raw. So if you can make it all the way through these 3 hours, I will have one set that I'm giving away to one of our lucky viewers here tonight. So chime in. Let me know what you've enjoyed so far on Raw thus far tonight. For me, it has definitely been that brawl between Gunther and Damian Priest. Did he just give him? He just gave him a candle to eat. Hmm. Yeah, this brawl was nice. Yeah, it's interesting. I was talking. I made a video about Dynamite, about AEW, and all the rumors about their TV deal being done, and somebody was criticizing them. Surprise of surprises that somebody was criticizing AEW on the internet. What a surprise! But somebody was criticizing them, and they were saying how there was no build up to there was no build up whatsoever to the um, MJF, what's it called? MJF Osprey feud. I'd like to point out that the build up to the feud for Priest and Gunther has been roughly the same. It's been Gunther calling Priest, saying that Priest is bullshit, and then he cut a promo saying that he sucks, and then they brawled a couple times, and now they're having a match. But like, there really hasn't been much like build up for that either. They've actually been pretty parallel to each other. So I find it interesting. Like, they're very similar, but AEW does it, and they get called hacks, and that they don't tell stories. WWE does it, and it's like, well, they've been doing long term storytelling. When it's really just that like he won King of the Ring, so therefore he gets a match with Damian Priest, and all the other stuff that Damian Priest has been going on with Damian Priest is sort of beside the point. Like I don't know that any of it has any impact whatsoever on the story that's actually going on. There's never a moment because there was like the whole thing where like they didn't want Sonya Deville around. Baszler and Zoe were like both like, "Yeah, get away from us. We don't like you." And then just suddenly she was like, "Yeah, never mind. We're good." And they never really did anything to sort of like explain it. She never did anything to earn it. I think it just sort of happened. They just sort of left it at that. Weird choice. Yeah, this whole feud is like I don't know. I feel like this whole like Lyra had some good heat behind her, but I feel like this feud is not helping. Like this feud is killing a lot of the heat that she had. Um, like there was a lot of energy behind her, but it really feels like it's just not doing her any favors right now. Personally, like personally for me, that's what it feels like. I wish that, and I don't know what to do. You know, I really feel like the women's division has lost a lot of its like vim and vigor over the past few months. You know, Becky was a lot of the reason. Like Becky was always kind of gives a lot of the power to the division, I think, and not having her is definitely a handicap that the division feels, um, which is unfortunate. Like I think it definitely suffers for not having her, um, and you know now it's a little bit like because the live story is so tied up with the live story is so tied up with Rhea, um, and you actually it's a good example of where you don't need a belt, right? Like the belt is a little bit of a like I wish the belt was separate from that story because the story itself is powerful enough that you don't need the belt in the middle of it. Having the belt in the middle of it sort of like essentially is like monopolizing that story. So it's taking up a lot of the oxygen in the room. Whereas like you could have the belt doing other stuff, which is a good case. I know there's a lot of talk online today and over the past couple weeks about how there should be a second women's title or third women's title or maybe you know a second women's title on each brand, and I think that's a pretty good example of why there probably does need to be one, because if there was one more title, if there was another women's title, it wouldn't be an issue, right? Like you'd be able to have Rhea and Liv fighting over the belt and Dominic, and then also have another story going on where they're competing for this other belt. Um, so I hope they do it. Like I hope it's in the cards because I think it's probably the right thing to do. I think it would be helpful for the division just to have it. Even just looking at like what it's done over in NXT to have the North American Women's title, I think has made a big difference. Although to be fair, like that is the women's division on NXT is gigantic. You know, they have so many women on that division, so it sort of makes sense that that's what they're doing. Wow, we got 261 people over on YouTube. Or sorry, not over on YouTube, over on Twitter. Thank you guys so much for stopping by. One day I will figure out how to get you guys to interact. I don't know what the key is, but one day I will figure it out. Oh my god, there's so many commercials. It's probably me bitching about commercials. That is my guess, is that it's me bitching about commercials. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong. And we are back. Sonya Deville is back in charge of this matchup, I hear. Yeah, like even Shayna and Zoe are sort of like, meh. I'm a little checked out. It's not really my thing. As part of the thing with like having them all be like the like MMA, you know, shooter fighter guys with their like I'm badass and don't have a lot of personality is not helpful for this. Especially cuz like when you watch them, they all post online a lot and they all have a lot of they'll have a lot of like Facebook and Instagram posts and they're all like super um they all have like a lot of personality. Like they're all really aggressively filled with personality. You know, I don't know why they don't it doesn't come across in the storylines that they're doing, you know? It's a very strange choice. It's a very, very strange choice that I don't quite understand. I don't um Oh, thank you, Allie. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining us. I'm just gonna leave that up all the time on my screen, like permanently, just to make me feel good about things in general. Um, I won't do that because that's probably too much for me. I can't take that much I can't take that many compliments. Um, let's see if I can put my overlay on. New comments. There you go. Let's stay up. So yeah, like I just don't understand why it doesn't come through. I don't know. I don't know why their personalities don't come through the way that they probably should. Like I wish that there was a little bit more for them to do. Um, and it's a little bit of like Sonya Deville is sort of severe, and that's her thing. And so I guess the two of them have that as well. And having them act like jackals would be weird, but like I need something. I need them doing something in the background and giving it a little bit more attitude. Yeah, it's just like I wish there was just more energy going on. It all has like a slow motion feel to it. Which Lyra doesn't normally have, right? Like Lyra normally has like a um Lyra normally has like a full speed, full motion you know, like intensity to her, but it's just totally missing. The witch-like being. It's ridiculous. Well, here we go. Here we go. Mm-hmm. I want I want her to talk as herself. Come on. Be herself. Be yourself. Be yourself. Be yourself. Where are you? Where are you? Come on. Hmm. Not what I was looking for. CM Punk. I understand that he's the best in the world. Is that true? Yeah, that is not what I was looking for. Do I have a favorite match that you really like and maybe you cry? I gotta be on the on AEW. They've been doing the Tony Storm stuff. Um, I don't know if you're watching AEW or not, but there's been this amazing storyline on AEW involving Tony Storm and Mariah May, who has been they've been doing it's all about Eve in wrestling form. And when they got to the end of the story, or when they got to the big turn, big twist in the story where Mariah May, spoilers, turned on her, I did indeed, while live streaming, no less, I did indeed begin crying because I am nothing if not overly emotional. I love nothing more than having emotional responses to things. Like that's part of why I love media and why I work in media, I think, is because I've always found that like the absolute best feeling in the world is to have an emotional response to art. Um and when wrestling can do it, it is very weird. Like it's very rare. It's not something that happens all the time. And I can only think of maybe a handful of times that I can even begin to think of it. But that story in particular was like really, really, really particularly emotional. Um, and part of like why it was so effective and why it was so emotional is that like you see it coming and you knew that she was going to turn on her. Um, like you knew it was coming, right? Like you knew it was going to happen, but at the same time, um, oh good, I'm glad you watch it. Um, like you knew it was going to come, but when it happened, it was so much more brutal and so much more guttural than even you could have possibly imagined. You know, like it was so much harsher and so much more just like, whoa. That's me using my words, by the way, right there. That was me using my words. Than imaginable. And I think that's actually why, like, it really hit so hard. Um, and it actually makes me reflect a lot on what they're doing with the Liv Morgan Rhea Ripley story over on WWE right now, because I think that story is also really good, but it doesn't have the same emotional punch, um, in part because it's a little sillier. And what's sort of unique about that, I think, what's like the most sort of unique part of that is that Tony Storm as a character is obviously a lot sillier and a lot broader than Rhea Ripley or Liv Morgan or Dominic Mysterio. Um, but the emotional stuff and the emotional storytelling that they're doing over in AEW is actually more grounded. Um, and is actually like coming from a more, I think, real emotional place. And I think that's why it actually works a little bit better and gets more of a guttural, real reaction. That's what I think. What about you? Is there some part, was there something that you've seen on wrestling that you've had that kind of reaction to? Undertaker versus Brock. Huh. I get that. I can see that, definitely. I actually also think what they did last week with that amazing Wyatt Six segment, the Eric Rowan segment, I think was also really, really good. Like a really, really like emotional um was also like a really amazing. Oh, here he comes. What's he gonna get up to now? This is gonna be good. Is the implication that he drove here? That's what they're saying? Hmm. So what to see? It's all right to be alive in Green Bay, Wisconsin. It's pretty cold there, although it's probably really hot there right now. Hey. He should have put that tape on because it's a lot of tape. That is. Oh boy. Do you just watch WWE or do you watch AEW as well? I guess you do because you said you watched the Tony Storm stuff. Oh shit! Here's the moment. But he doesn't have X's on his hands. How will people know he is straight edge? That's what I want to know. Except. Hey! We love Larry. What? Dude. Why is he not wearing a ridiculous referee costume? I can't believe they do not have him in a very silly referee costume. Uh, I just want to, like, have him in a ridiculous referee. Like, the guy wears nothing but ridiculous costumes. You can't have him come out in a flowing black and white robe. Like, imagine in a Ric Flair esque feather robe. Also, what is he wearing? Can we just stop for a second here, folks, and talk about what he's wearing? Maybe he has a tiny referee shirt on underneath all that. A teeny, tiny, ridiculous referee shirt. Very silly. This is very silly, guys. What do we think? Very, very silly, is what I think. I think we're in very silly territory, personally. Catering? Oh, because they're going after Jey Uso, right? That mustache is getting very silly. Those are some short shorts she is wearing. Are you uh are you watching it region like are you watching it just on what's it called? I mean, I'm partial to the Attitude Era because I watched it as a kid, obviously. But no, I love wrestling right now. I think wrestling right now between both shows, and I like both shows equally. Like I think both shows right now are fantastic. I think we're genuinely living in an absolute golden age right now. I think that what's different now is that we live in this like stay with me here because this is going to get heavy. I love that we live in this postmodern era where wrestling exists entirely in a self-aware state. So what I mean is that like wrestling in the old days pretended like we pretended that like the dirt sheets and the internet and social media, we pretended that all that stuff was totally separate. I mean, social media didn't exist, obviously, but we pretended that all the online stuff didn't exist and didn't matter. I love that all that stuff is now sort of like in game, so to speak. Like it's all part of the story that we're telling. I think that that stuff actually makes the storytelling and what they're doing in wrestling some of the most sophisticated storytelling in the world. I think that like were any other form of entertainment as complicated and as rich as what they do in wrestling, it would destroy the world. Um, I don't even think for how complicated the Marvel universe has become with the cinematic universe and all that stuff. I don't even think they get anywhere, don't get anywhere near it, right? Because it would be the equivalent, like the closest we got is what they did with the She-Hulk TV show, where you sort of like had to know, and I think they're doing it a little bit with the Deadpool Wolverine movie, right? But even in that stuff, like it's still text. What they're doing now with wrestling, it's all metatext, right? Which means that like it's not actually in the text. So like what we know about what's happening. Hello from the UK. Welcome. Let me put you. Sorry, I feel bad. I should put you guys on the overlay. Sorry about that. I have the overlay turned off. Um. Oh, I don't know why. Oh, there you go. Um. What I think is really interesting is that essentially like all this stuff is metatext. So like we're watching it knowing everything that we know. So just as a really good example, on Collision the other night, they debuted Hologram. Is that new wrestler? Everybody was watching that. In the back of their heads, they were all thinking, um, um, we all were thinking quietly to ourselves to some degree, is that going to be Ricochet? Like, is that who Ricochet is? And then the way that we knew it wasn't Ricochet was twofold. One was if we read the dirt sheets, we knew that it wasn't going to be Ricochet, right? We knew that it was going to be the guy from CMLL. But then the other way that we knew is that we know his tattoos. Like, think about what other form of media do you need to be familiar with a actor's tattoos to know whether it's the right person or not? Like, that's wild. And when he came out, like if you were watching some of the like internet wrestling community, like that's what people like there were still people who were like arguing about it. Right, exactly. Yeah, that's my point, man. Like it's 100% like it's such a weird business. And then even just the relationships people have with their wrestling and like what wrestling they like and how they like it and how, today people were talking about today was about how Bobby Lashley got taken off. He got taken off the roster page, and so now people are already booking what they want him to do in AEW. Like it's such a like unique and weird way. Um, it's such a unique and like weird way to it's such a unique and like weird way to enjoy an art form that there really isn't an equivalent for. Like we all speculate about all the stuff we like, right? Like we're all speculating about what we like about the next Marvel movie or what they're going to do in the DC universe or like what's going to happen, like how are they going to change the Dune books to make the next movie? Like we're all speculating about that stuff because it's just what we're going to do. But like we experience wrestling in four dimensions because we're also like speculating about it in this like real time environment, guessing about plot, guessing about booking, understanding like what the relationships are between the wrestlers and their backstories, and like knowing like the fact that we know that Sammy and Kevin, I always want to call him Kevin Steen, Kevin Owens are best friends. Knowing that impacts how they book. So like there was the moment during was it during WrestleMania where they see each other backstage? Like that was an entire moment that was booked entirely because we know their relationship to each other aside from story. Like we know that they're friends. And that moment has all this like poignancy and meaning because of it. Or like what's happening right now, right? So like what's happening right now, this is essentially like the relationship between Sammy and Jay is because of a storyline from 2 years ago now, 3 years ago. Like, that's why he cares, is because of a thing that happened 3 years ago. And despite all of that, the Final Testament still suck. Sorry. I just can't get over it. Yeah, no, that's true. And again, and it's, I think, I don't know that it's lots more. I think you just know about it because we now, because of social media and because kayfabe is not a thing anymore, right? Like, or less of a thing, so that you know about the personal lives of everybody. Um, we're getting to know who the real people are. But even within knowing who the real people are, how much of it is reality? Right? Like, how much of it is reality? Because the reality of social media is that none of it's real. Like, we all know from our own social media that we post that what we post on social media is pretend, right? Our social media and how we portray ourselves online is still like us putting on a facade. And so that goes like doubly, triply, quadruply true for people who are performers who play characters that are based on themselves. So like we're still sort of like imbuing them with a sense of reality that isn't even really reality, which is just like, wah! It's fascinating. Like it is such a fascinating thing to think about and to understand as like a way to understand entertainment, which I don't think has a comparison to any other art form, because we're expected to understand who they are. Um, I don't know why I keep thinking of other examples from AEW, but like the other one that I think about is, you know, with what they could do right now with Adam Cole, right? Like Adam Cole's been out because he broke his foot running to the ring to help Max, which is like storyline stuff, right? Sorry, let me pull that up for you. I'll put that up on the screen. Poor Cody. Poor Cody. Um, no, but like if you think about the like, you have somebody like Adam Cole who's like was built to be their super heel, and then he had broken his foot, and that was still their plan, was like, let's make him a super heel, although he had a broken foot. But now his wife is their biggest face, and everybody knows that they're married, and Max is now their biggest heel. So when Adam Cole comes back, like historical booking tells you that you bring Adam Cole back as a heel because he was a heel. But do you? I would bring him back as a face. I would let him come back as a face because you know what? It makes sense. Because his whole point was that Max was a scumbag, and guess what? Max is a scumbag. So my point is like we know so much about them, and like we understand story in this, like, again, in this, like, to quote Back to the Future, this fifth dimensional way. Like we really understand story in such a different way now that it lets them tell stories in a really unique and smart way. And I think that's something that Triple H as a booker understands in a way that certainly Vince McMahon didn't understand, and that I suspect Tony Khan doesn't even really understand. And I think that's part of where people get frustrated with Tony Khan, is that Tony Khan has a very like old school booker mentality of like, no, we have a plan and we're going to try and stick to this plan even if that plan needs to change. And so stuff gets dropped and stuff gets broken because he doesn't have that ability to pivot that I think Triple H does. And I think that's why people respond well and positively, and why I think the WWE is thriving in a lot of ways right now. And I think that a lot of the top talent in WWE is really good at that. I think that's what Cody has done really well. And I think actually, when you watch that the WrestleMania documentary, um, that's really what Cody is doing, right? Is Cody sees what's happening around him, and he's watching them not pivot, and he knows like, oh, you guys are doing the wrong thing, and you're acting like Vince, but we don't live in the Vince era anymore. And he knows that part of the job and part of what we do in the modern storytelling world, right? Like part of what our existence is as storytellers now is to meet our audience in the middle and work with our audience as like partners. And I can tell you, like, as a storyteller, as somebody who tells stories for a living, that can be very frustrating. It can be a very frustrating way to tell stories because I have a story I want to tell, and I know what the story is from the beginning to the end, and I want to tell it the way I want to tell it. But what I learned, and I learned this sort of years ago, when you're working with editors and when you're working with collaborators, and especially working in comic books, which is where I really got a lot of my training. Working in comic books, you're essentially working with like 50-50 partners with your artist. What you learn is that the other people you're working with are bringing as much vision and as much understanding to your story as you ever could. And so because of that, you're always pivoting. You're always rethinking who you are and what you want to tell. And it's because of those outside voices that you actually get something better. And it's just making sure that those outside voices, that you not only that you trust them, but that you should trust them. Let's see, let me pull you up. It was a great moment. And again, that's another piece of like, that's paying off something that's what, 7 years old, 6 years old, which is a sort of like weird long-term storytelling. And again, like, when I was writing, God, what book was it? When I was writing in the Ultimate Universe in Marvel Comics, like one of the things that I did is I brought back Ultimate Doctor Doom. And Ultimate Doctor Doom was a character that had actually disappeared and nobody realized it. It was a continuity error. And it was one of those things that like I brought him back very specifically because it was a thing that bothered me. But I know that it's one of the things that people really liked and like really responded to because people had always like connected to that story, to that original story. And when you're telling stories, you have to be able to identify what are the parts that people identify with that resonate most. Thank you, Gonzalo. You have to like find the parts that resonate with people, and that's the stuff that you have to draw from. And I think with the Triple H era, he has a good sense of that stuff. One of the things that I find really fascinating and that I find sort of like almost confusing is Adam Copeland talked about how he wanted for his return at WrestleMania, he wanted to have Gangrel come out with them so that they could do a Brood reunion, and he was vetoed. And Triple H wasn't entirely in charge, but he was in charge enough that you would think that he would be like, oh, of course, that makes sense. Because that feels like such a Triple H thing. And it was a moment like when they did it in AEW, unfortunately it got overshadowed by him, breaking his leg, which was not a great moment. But like it was like a huge, at least for me, when it happened, it was a giant pop. Like that moment felt sensational to me. Like it was such a big, huge, meaningful moment. All that being said, they also do stuff like this. Like this final, I do not understand. I don't know if any of you guys want to explain the Final Testament to me, but I do not get it. They do not work. Like the individual pieces are all great. As a unit, the way that they've been booked, the stories that they've been on, I just do not get. And it's a real bummer. I love Paul Ellering. Why are they getting put over? I don't know. My thing with Solo, that's a good question. My thing with Solo is that he he's not ready. And I know people have talked about how that's the point, right? Like the point is that he's supposed to be not Roman Reigns and not ready to be Roman Reigns. But that isn't how he's not ready. I think the way that he's not ready is I think he's not ready as a performer. So like there's not ready meaning as a character, his character is not ready. But then there's like actually the performer. And I think like he's incredibly inconsistent on the mic. I think he's incredibly inconsistent in the ring. And so like I don't know that like he's ready to actually carry I don't know that he's actually ready to like carry that match. So I think what happens at SummerSlam is going to be very very telling. Like if he can because Cody can take I genuinely believe wholeheartedly that Cody can take almost anybody to a good match. Like we have seen it, what Cody did on his independent run and in Japan and, and Ring of Honor and eventually in AEW was like Cody managed to pull good matches out of everybody. Everybody that he crossed with. And so I think like what kind of match we get at SummerSlam is going to dictate a lot of what the future looks like for Solo Sikoa. Um, and if Roman comes back at SummerSlam, which everybody is guessing he's going to, um, but it's really a question of like, does Solo have it? Like they've obviously invested a fortune in him, right? Because they're banking on him. But at the same time, I think it's really problematic that every time the bloodline comes out, who is the only person anybody talks about? They talk about Jacob Fatu. They don't talk about Solo. Like Solo is like next to like Tama Tonga or Tongaloa, I should say. Next to Tongaloa, he's the least talked about. Um, because Jacob Fatu he's the show. He's the one that we want to see. He's the one who's like the most together and the most he's the dude's got it. He's like, it's hard to judge him on the mic because the promos that he cuts, at least in WWE, the promos that he cuts now are, he's like Chewbacca when he's cutting them because he's cutting them with like that crazy voice. But like when I've heard him interviewed and when I've seen him do promos, before he came, like he can cut promos too. So, I wonder what the long-term plan is. And again, we're talking about specifically Triple H's ability to pivot. And that's a place where if I was Solo Sikoa, I'd be worried shitless that he's going to pivot on me and he's going to pivot away from me. So like he's got a lot to prove over these next 2 weeks that he can actually hold the bloodline and he can hold up his end of the bargain, because putting him in a feud with Roman Reigns instead of putting Cody in a feud with Roman Reigns, is a lot. I think that story in a broader sense is going to be that The Rock comes back and The Rock is the one running that bloodline so that way you can have your Rock and Roman Reigns feud. Because that's what was missing, right? What was missing, And if you go back, I made a video when I made my video about the WrestleMania documentary. I talk about this. You know, what was wrong then about The Rock versus Roman Reigns is that there was no emotional center to it, right? So what was missing from that story was an emotional cause for them to be fighting. If what that emotional cause is that Rock is trying to manipulate the bloodline and have his own sort of control of it via Solo and this sect. And therefore he's usurping Roman Reigns surreptitiously. That's an emotional plot reason for them to feud that makes sense for there to be a match. And so like I would hope that that's what's going on and that's what's going to lead to the two of them eventually feuding. So maybe you get like a junior feud between Roman and Solo that then leads into Roman. Wow, that was a long time for Chad Gable to be standing in the ring doing nothing. Yeah, Roman's great. I think their mistake with Roman was defanging him a little bit by like making him rely so much on everyone else. You know, and and so I and so I think having him have to do it a little bit more on his own is going to be really good for him as a character, and it also make him a face. I mean, that's what makes him a face, right? So is this building to some kind of like six man with Xavier Woods? Yay! Look at Otis. Look at Otis go. I feel like they never finished the storyline properly. Like they really sort of soft ended it, and it was weird. It's a weird choice. Oh, Oof. Yes, indeed. I mean, I guess this is them coming back to the Otis stuff. But it feels like he never got his, like, actual, like, go to hell moment. Yay! Oh no. Oh no, I lost sound. Oh, because they're chanting. I just think the bummer of this is that, like, I want them to finish the Otis stuff. But, like, the Wyatt 6 stuff takes precedence over it, even though the other story never really finished. Hey! Pretty delightful. Pretty delightful. Pretty delightful. Really good. That was good. I'm glad, like, I have weird mixed feelings about all the Wyatt 6 stuff, so I'm nice. Whenever they do something good like that, I'm always happy. Ah, it was real good. Sorry, I'm a little zoned. Yeah, I wish that they could, like, I wish that they gave a little more of a finite ending to the Otis Chad Gable stuff, because they moved on to the Wyatt 6 stuff, and like even there we're like we were sort of getting a little bit more um like even there like we were getting closer to some sort of like um you know finishing that story. Like it felt like we were getting back to it, but then immediately like immediately to we're immediately back to like Wyatt 6 stuff, you know? Nope, we back. I like that Uncle Howdy is sort of like a Bray Howdy hybrid. Oh, big Bronson Reed. Sorry. Um, why? No, why should Randy stop wrestling? Randy's great. You leave Randy alone. That's what I say. Sorry about this. I'm just answering. Sorry, I had an email I had to answer. But no, I do not think. I'll put that up. No way. I think Randy's doing great. I think like he has sort of a great role to play. I think he's gonna feud with Cody, which I think is valuable and useful. Um, and I think that like he's going to Sheamus, which makes no sense. This whole storyline makes no sense. Ah. Oh, your English is fine. This storyline with Pete Dunne makes zero sense. It drives me crazy. Like, does he not? He doesn't like being his little buddy? Is that what's going on, I guess? Yeah, like why Pete Dunne has suddenly gone heel instead of having like what they could have done was given him like an actual story instead of him just going weirdly heel. I don't understand it at all. Like unless Pete Dunne really just cannot talk at all. Like is he literally tongue tied? That is possible, I suppose. But otherwise, I don't understand why. Like, why would he not talk? Because Sami Zayn is a huge threat to everybody suddenly. Oh! Ah! This is a great episode of Raw. I'm a fan. Ugh. Yeah, this is a really great episode of Raw. I'm like, I was really, really, really underwhelmed with SmackDown on Friday. Um, it's weird. It feels like I don't know why. I don't know if it's the numbers. I don't know what it is, but SmackDown in general just feels like the lesser show right now. Whereas Raw every week has been kind of a banger. Um, I'm not 100% sure why. I don't know what the mentality is behind it. Um, and I don't know if it's because the team, like how the teams are booking it, or I don't know what the specifics. I don't know what the specifics are creatively behind the scenes that are keeping it so different. But they are like noticeably different. Like the pacing is just better on Raw. There seems to be more content on Raw. Like there's just more going on. Whereas SmackDown has like a very like lackadaisical pace almost. It's weird. It's very very strange. I don't quite understand it. I don't quite understand what's going on, um, and why it doesn't work because the rosters are just as good as each other. Like it's not like there's a noticeable quality difference between the rosters. Um, at least I don't think so. Do you guys think so? Do you guys think that there is a difference, or am I just imagining things? Yeah, I'm glad it's not just me. Although I will go on to say, Dynamite last week, show of the week easily. That episode of Dynamite, that is like the best 2 hours of wrestling. At least that first hour of Dynamite is the best hour of wrestling TV in forever and a day. He just used the word banger a lot. That's all that matters. They just talked over her little "this is my brutality" shout. Oh, you know what I got? I gotta show you guys this. Hold on, let me go grab it. I'll be right back. Let me go grab. I'll be right back. Give me a second. I forgot I haven't opened it yet. I was so excited. This is like my. Very rarely do I like get to Target or Walmart and I'm just like, oh my god, I need to spend money right now. I have no choice. But look at him. Look how cute he is. God, he's adorable. I was so excited when I saw him. I'm just like, he's just the cutest little thing. Although you'll note he does not have the little mustache. I feel like I need to draw the mustache in to really accurately get the full Dom Mysterio experience. I'm so impressed with Liv. Like, she's really come miles and miles. Thank you. This is my office. This is where I work. And make videos, but mostly where I work. Oh. Oof. I like he's holding her back as though she's going to run through the entire arena. Here she goes. Here she goes. She's going to run through the whole arena. I hate you. Say it. Oh, oh, look how mean that is. Oh. Oh, so mean. So mean. I think she's. I gotta be honest. I think Liv is gonna keep the title. I think that was the moment where Liv won the title. Or kept the title. Man, that was brutal. Yeah, that's mean. Yeah, that's mean. I'm really look at them giving her time. I love Zelina Vega. I'm so happy that they're sort of giving her a push. They keep kind of half giving her a push. That got me a little misty-eyed. You asked me earlier. I got a little misty-eyed with that because that was just so cruel. Because I've been there. I've been there, done that. Yeah, I'm sure Drew's gonna lose to Punk. They're not gonna make Punk lose his first match. Mm. Yeah, that was brutal, man. Oof. All right, so we are now deep into our third hour. Not deep. We're lightly into our third hour. So close, guys. Oh, gotta check in. The rumors, the Warner Brothers Discovery deal with AEW. Someone just commented really nicely on one of my posts. I'm going to read this because it was so nice. WWE is a story based program about wrestling. AEW is a wrestling based program about wrestling. WWE is like pop music. It's got a nice beat and it's easy to dance to. The lyrics or storylines are catchy and easy to follow. But AEW is like jazz. The art form relies on improvisation and for the musicians to go with each other's flow. The story is there, but often told in the notes or moves. Most people are comfortable with pop music. Jazz tends to be an acquired taste. It's a really beautiful take. I really like that. Thank you so much. Thanks for coming. Thanks for hanging out. And wow, awesome. Thank you for coming from Lebanon. I'll be here I'm here Wednesday for Dynamite. I'm here Friday for SmackDown, and you can follow me. I put up videos all the time. So please follow, share. Thanks so much for hanging out. It was a pleasure. I'm going to put you up one more time. There you go. Thank you so much for hanging out. All right, guys. So we're now on our back last hour. Oh, it's Shawn Michaels' birthday. He looks like he's 86 years old. What I like most about Shawn Michaels is that his theme song is being sung by the mouth of the South, Jimmy Hart. Why is Zoe Stark's new logo make her look like she's some kind of car? Try the Z Stark, racing its way to a dealership near you. It's the weirdest thing. This is totally beside the point, but whenever I put clips up, any video that has the words Chad Gable in it tends to get partially blocked in like only in the Middle East. It's really weird. I find it very confusing. So strange. So strange. Delete. Very confusing. So yeah, we are. I'm a big fan of Zelina Vega. I think she's a massively talented. I think it's a shame that because she's so little, she doesn't get as much credit as she should, and I think it's obviously like gotten in the way. Maybe Jay will take Liv now. That's a good. That's a good pitch. I like this pitch. I like this angle. This tonight's results thing is like it's over in the corner on the screen is like the weirdest thing. I love the like. Let's pretend it's real sports, guys. Let's do this now. I think it sucks. Like it's weird. Like Zelina Vega is not that much smaller than anybody else, and I think the thing is if they played her more like Ray, because she can do it. Like she can do the lucha stuff, and I think like if they just let her lucha a little bit more, um, if they just let her do a little more lucha stuff, she'd be a lot more plausible, and I think you'd be able to get away with it. Especially because like her whole gimmick is that she's idolized Rey Mysterio her whole life. So like I would personally, I would just have her. I would like lean on that and lean into the lucha stuff and let her go because she's super charismatic. She's amazing on the mic. She's got a great look. Like she's really good. She's really really good. The only problem is that she's little, but so what? Like I just don't think it matters anymore. Like is she that much smaller than like Lyra Valkyria? I mean, Lyra Valkyria, like, I guess looks more solid because she's, like, a little broader. Like, she has, like, a broader look to her. But other than that, you know, I just don't think there's that much of a difference, really. The thing that I find weird with the Rhea stuff is that, like, it seems like she's just sort of destined to be a baby face because she's so over. Um, And maybe because they don't have to, they're not going to, right? Like she doesn't need to do anything. So like why bother? I guess. Right? Like why change how you're presenting her because it works the way it is? Um but it always feels weird to me that she's like that they're playing her as so into Dom. And that was like a weird choice cuz it feels like you want Dom to turn on her. But like it's gonna be hard to walk back that last segment, right? It feels like it's gonna be a hard sell walking that backwards, because holy shit, right? Like holy shit, how do you walk that back? But that could just be me. That could just be my. Maybe I'm just overthinking it. I am really like fascinated by this thing where every video I've ever posted that has the name Chad Gable in it gets blocked on YouTube. It's so strange. If you are just starting to follow us, we got a few people jumping over from. It looks like we had a couple people over from. Oh, looks like we got a. Ah! There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, it does feel like they're building towards a like some sort of like middle title. It's a nice suit. It's ridiculous. Oh, finally. It's finally the segment we've all been dying for, the referee instructions. That is some very WWE shit right there. So listen, guys. As we go into our last half hour, I've seen a bunch of people talking recently about whether or not Raw should go down once it goes to Netflix, whether it's going to become shorter. And first of all, I don't think it's going to. However, I would like to say that it probably should. Because this 3 hour thing, I think it's too long. I think if you got rid of the commercials, which they aren't going to do, they're going to have, like, it's going to be non. In theory, you're going to be able to pay to not have the commercials, I believe. So at least there'll be less commercials. But the thing is that where there's less commercials, there's still going to be content going on. So I don't know if it's going to be, maybe the show will be 2:15 or 2:30 instead, and they're just going to have like picture in pic, what would be the equivalent of picture in picture. I'm not sure. I don't know what they're going to do. Um, but I do think even with the giant roster that they have, I still think that 3 hours is too long. Like maybe it's just me, and I do love it. I genuinely love it. I genuinely enjoy wrestling to the core of my being. So I'm not complaining. But all of that being said, uh, 3 hours is grueling. It is a grueling amount of time, and I do think that like it would be much better off if it was closer to 2 hours. Oh, we're so close, guys. The commercials, man. Just the commercials. Oh, the documentary. Come on, commercials. Oh, finally. They're going to show up somewhere. It's a weird graphic. Is my camera out again? No, we're good. It's weird. Having weird camera problems. There we go. He's not wrong. He is not wrong. That's maybe an overstatement. Yes, he will. Yes, he certainly will. Yeet, 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 yeet. Oh, are they going to fill the last half hour by them walking to the ring? I would much rather have Sammy's music. I feel like we're missing out. That's funny that they're not using their phones. Oh, maybe they are. But not like they were. The Firefly thing really took it away. I was just kidding, but man, I really do think they're going to spend the last half hour just getting them into the ring. Oh, Lord. Oh, get in the ring, guys. Come on. Let's do this. Oh, Christ. Oh, man. Oof. It's a long way to go. It's a long way to Tipperary, I've heard. That's right. I said a long way to Tipperary. That's where I'm at. It is where I am at. Guys, Pretty Deadly are going to be on SmackDown. It is going to be a banger of a show. I'm actually not going to be live streaming SmackDown because I'm going to be down in San Diego for Comic Con, so I'm going to miss it. But I will be doing, I will definitely be doing Dynamite on Wednesday night, no matter what. And that's it. That's all I got to say. That's all I got to say about that. Mm-hmm. That's all I got to say about that. Mm-hmm. We are coming up on our last 25 minutes of Raw. It's a real long way to go. Gotta be honest. It's a long, long way to go. That's the thing. Like, so I can always, whenever we do this, every week when I do this, I guess I should say, every week when I do this, it's always sort of like good, and then it gets to be the third hour, and the third hour, no matter how like loaded up it is always just like, ugh, like let's get there. Come on, let's get through it. And I don't know if other streamers are better about it. Maybe other streamers just have more energy and I just run out. But like, no amount of coffee that I drink, no amount of like prep that I do, no amount of rest that I get beforehand. It is always this third hour is always just a slog to get through. And part of it is that the last match is always a 30-minute chunk that is like a 10 to 15-minute chunk of like ring entrances. Like it's how they dole it out. So the thing is that the last hour is tends to be like 20 minutes of that last hour is filler. So it like the show drastically slows down in the last hour. So it's not even like the show speeds up in the last hour. It genuinely like just slows way down, which is just a weird choice, I think, personally. Um, if you're watching and you are enjoying it and you'd like to say thank you for all the things that I do, you can support the stream right there. It's not really buying me a coffee, but you could buy me a coffee. That would keep me awake longer. You can buy me a coffee. We also, let me see if I can add some of these. Let's see if we can get this to work. This was not working the other day, but I bet it works now. This is probably my favorite. Add to list. I think it's missing again. 1, 2, 3. Let's see. Next. Let's see if these work. Got a logo t-shirt. We got the wrestling isn't my only mania t-shirt. I don't know if these are clickable. I think they're scannable. So you scan them with your phone. And this is my favorite one. I don't know why they don't show up where you can see what they say. And we are back to have the Judgment Day come out for a half hour. Having Seth Rollins not wearing an absolutely ridiculous shirt is a real missed opportunity, if you ask me. My favorite shirt is the Wrestling is Real, You're Fake t-shirt. Only $17. We get the lion's share of that profit. Help support me and make sure that we're doing this. There's also all sorts of cool stuff. Like we got a mug, Got a traveler tumbler. Got a cool mug. It's a terrible shot of the mug. But yeah. I'm going to leave this up. I'm going to leave right there. I'm going to leave that guy up for you guys. You can check it out. I like these graphics. They've really done a nice job. The graphics. I think the Money in the Bank graphics were really nice. I love these SummerSlam graphics. These like punk rock graphics are cool. I don't think he will be. I do not think he will be. I do not think you will be champ. I do not think you will win it on the ramp. I do not think you will win it here nor there. I do not think you will win it anywhere. I kind of doubt Roman Reigns will return. I don't have a word that rhymes with return. I kind of think you are just championship churn. There we go. I did it. I made the rhyme. Still oozoing. Just me ooze. Just me ooze. Oh, God. Get to the ring. I don't want to know how few matches we've gotten tonight. I've got a bad feeling that it is not very many. I feel like we had a lot of matches, though. I will say, like, it feels like in response to the criticism of last week that between all 5 hours of programming last week, they had, in fact, less show than just 1 hour of Dynamite. I feel like that must have hit them where they live, because it does feel like there was more matches tonight in general. Oh, no, I did. Not Jelly Roll. Dreams do come true. Did they just refer to J.D. McDonough as the real deal in the ring? Hey! Stupid Carlito. Oh, man. Oh, as we go into this final break, I hope it's the final break. It's always hard to tell, but I'm pretty sure it's the final break. I don't know if you've seen these. There's these great G1 posters everywhere that are just fan-frickin-tastic. Oh, guys, we're so close. Stuff I'm looking forward to at Comic-Con. The Headlocked Comics guys are doing a ton of cool stuff. I don't know if you follow them or not. I don't know why they get logged out. Let me see. I'm pulling it up over on Instagram. Let me see if I can follow, if I can pull any of that up. See if I can share it. Can I share that? I don't know if I know how. Presentation. That's not what I want to share. Presentation. That's random pictures. Replace. What can I replace it with? Let's see. Drive? Nope. That's not what I want to do. Screen share. Allow to share window. I want to share this window. I think this is working. Is this working? Let me see if this is working. We're going to check over here really quick. Nope. It's hard to tell. Gonna look and see if this is working over here. Let's look. Live stream. Take me over to live stream. Hey, it's working. So yeah, they're doing these cool prints over here. Yeah, they're doing really cool stuff. Doing prints. Prints. Doing variant covers for some comics. They're doing it. Look, there's a Danhausen comic. I mean, come on. How cool is that? Oh, we were back to the match. Let me stop my screen sharing. Go back to the regular. There we go. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. That's going to be fun. Oh. It should really be a title match. Give me a reason for this match, other than, like, we don't like you. Oof. 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 What does Damian Priest live mean that they're pitching here? It's just me, Ooze. Come on, guys. Whoa. Just got surreal over there for a second. Sorry about that. I don't understand what this is, other than surreal as hell. All right, guys, let's wrap this up. I mean, you know, again, like, it's interesting because there are, like, there's just, when I think about the two tonight's headlines, now we're on to headlines, huh? You know, like when you think about what's going on, again, the difference between the two, like it's just the match. These are like four guys. Okay, it's two out of four guys. Finn Balor, Prince Devitt, as he's known, and El Generico, Sami Zayn, who put on bangers of matches, just amazing matches. But doing like fair match, like fair WWE matches. So like they're not great matches, and it's a bummer. Like I want them to do better matches because this could be a banger match. Like Jey Uso's good, I think he can be good, and I think JD McDonough can be good. But there's just not a lot of there. And like this is probably the closest thing to like a wrestling match that we're getting, right? Like this is the like showcase match of the night. Um, and it's it's fine. Like it's not a great match. Oh Jesus, that was sloppy as hell. That was a shitty Spanish fly. Shitty. Oof. Is it? Is it, guys? Is it WWE audience? It was a sloppy coup de grace. Nice moonsault. Oh, come on, guys, wrap it up. All right. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We are going to be back on Wednesday for Dynamite. There will be no Friday. Uh-oh. Braun Breaker. Braun Breaker for the spear at the end. That was it. That was how we ended. Uh, Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. It was a lot of fun. You can follow me on social media at Wrestling with Story on Instagram, on TikTok. Actually, no, sorry, on Instagram and on Twitch, which you probably might be watching me on right now, and of course on YouTube. And you can follow me on Twitter if you're not watching me there right now on at Josh Fialkov, on TikTok at Josh Fialkov. And if you want to pick up some t-shirts or you want to support us, you can go to thefialkov.com. Let me throw up one more link one more time. Right there. Bam! Right there. That's a terrible way to look at that link. Well, let me do it one more time so it's on there for the anybody watching this later. Let me see. Let me see. Here it is. I'm going to throw up Wrestling with Story logo. How about that one? Right there. You can scan that barcode right there, scan that QR code, and it'll get you right over to us. And we put up updates constantly. Got new videos went up this weekend, including our podcast with my buddy FJ DeSanto, producer of the Transformers cartoon on Netflix. And we talk about Japanese wrestling, AEW, WWE, and producing giant franchises and what it's like. So if you want to learn about any of that stuff, that is a great way to do it. You can find that wherever finer podcasts are available on, of course, you could do that on Apple Podcasts. You could do that on Overcast. You could do that on Spotify podcasts, and also over on our YouTube page. And what else? This will get turned into a video, but then I'm also going to do my I'll do a podcast episode discussing this episode, which goes up live right afterwards. Do me a favor, sub, recommend, like, stream. I don't know why you would stream because I'm streaming, so don't stream because that'd be weird. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. I really appreciate it. It's always a lot of fun. If you have been following along and you're interested in winning a copy of the comic, we have my Batman Brave and the Bold comics. They come out this week from DC Comics. The final part of my 3-part story that I wrote, which is Batman and Guy Gardner, the Green Lantern, hanging out. If you have been hanging out and you're interested in winning a copy, it's going to be available if you email me. I have 1 copy to give away. I will choose from everybody who emails me. The information right now about where to email me right up on the screen right now. So give it a look. I'll be accepting entries for the next about 20 minutes or so. So you have about 20 minutes to drop me a line if you want to win a copy. Also, if you have any questions, anything you want to ask me, if you have an idea for a video, anything like that, go ahead and shoot me an email at josh@wrestlingwithstory.com. Thank you guys so much for hanging out. We will see you next time. Thank you for streaming with us, and wrestling